Hey, welcome everyone to the Sketch Zone podcast. It's Carlos, and the good thing about this show is we record it from all over the planet anyway, so it's not like we're gonna get yelled at for like running outside when everyone should be inside. But let's go ahead and welcome back to the show, Mr. Russ Morland.
Hey, what's up, guys? Yes. How you guys doing? I like that applause. I'm actually really impressed that you got that many people in the studio to clap. That's amazing.
We're getting popular.
We broke the law. We collected a lot of people illegally.
And those silky tones are coming from the one and only Jack Kasperzak.
Yes, it is me. I'm here.
Yeah.
Been here for days.
Just keep rolling, man. Just keep rolling.
Yeah.
So, hey, if you guys are watching live, go ahead and interact with us in the chat room. We are paying attention, or trying to. We are a little bit, what is it called when you get, not island fever, what's it called? Cabin fever. Yeah.
You got it.
So
you guys can see some comments coming in. I can't see those, obviously, but
yeah. Well, what I'll do is
just in case my mom's watching, you know.
Hi, Mom. So yeah, this is not even an America thing. This is a worldwide thing. So hopefully everyone. We're wishing you nothing but health, nothing but whatever we can wish you.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird how hopes and dreams never quite like reach deep enough for when we're going through something like this? But hopefully one lesson that we glean from the situation is we're in this, like the entire planet is in this together. Yeah. Like we need to, we need to like just, back. I don't know if you guys remember, but like back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, when Ronald Reagan was president, he said something to the effect of, God forbid one day aliens come down, we'll see how quickly we act as a family, right? If this pandemic does not teach us anything, man, like this is going to be a long road to haul, or a long road.
Yeah, I had the weirdest thing going on all day. Like I wasn't really acknowledging it at first, but my wife had pointed it out where she's like, "You're in fight or flight right now, all day." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" Because she started being edgy all day, and I hadn't really thought about it. I was like, "No, I'm doing fine. And she's like, "No, like your whole energy and your body language. Like, I think if somebody came up to us right now, you would murder them." Really? And she's like, "Yeah, you're totally in fight or flight." I'm like, "I don't know, man. I'm just like being a Papa Bear. Like, I'm just trying to protect my family." And I guess I didn't. Once she said it, I totally acknowledged it.
Yeah.
But until that point, I guess I hadn't realized how much I was like edgy and like,
right.
I guess concerned. Like.
Oh.
Don't want people messing with my family,
I hear you. I hear you. And well, Russ, you kind of work from home, but you have your own tattoo studio. How has this situation affected your, basically your creative income?
Oh, yeah. Well, luckily enough, I incorporated about a year ago. So I was being smart enough to save up money in the corporation and not just taking it all up myself, which is when I was a sole proprietor that you kind of end up doing that when you're a sole proprietor, because you're like, oh, money's coming in. Nobody really needs it until tax season, so I'll just keep it. But with the corporation, you have to put money in the corporation. There has to be money in the bank. The government needs to see that. So it's kind of like a forced savings. So I do have enough for the tattoo studio to probably roll for like 4 months of paying rent and bills. Maybe a bit more if I really figured out the math on it. So that's okay, but what I worry about is like the guys that work with me and the girls that work with me. It's like I don't know their financial situations. Like, sure, I sign their checks, but I don't know like if they're saving money. They seem to smoke a lot of weed, and they seem to drink quite a bit. So I feel that like,
Where exactly
they
do
might
you
be
live?
on the west coast of Canada, man. But yeah, so like I was kind of more worried for them. I actually only had one official employee was a counter person that works for me, and I laid her off because then she can get employment benefit.
Oh, cool.
And I just paid her for 2 weeks' work that she's not even doing just to try to help her.
Sure.
As far as me personally, I mean, like, yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that. I have a mortgage at home where my studio is at home, and that's a bit worrying. But I mean, I should be okay as long as it doesn't go anything past like 5 or 6 months. Then we're gonna look like it's gonna be looking real thin over here. One of the main things that happened, I was hoping to get through at least a few months because I was going to get paid for a big job, but they just accepted a contract for like 15K, and then they backed out as soon as things started going crazy.
Oops.
Right.
Yeah, it was like a Dungeons and Dragons game that I was going to illustrate the whole game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I quoted them about 300 hours of work, and understandably, from their point of view, they got cold. He said they might come back later. They sent me a deposit still, which was nice of them because I'd done like a good couple of weeks of sketches already.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, people are backing out right now, and I understand. I understand, like, because they're scared too. Like they've got bottom lines too. So I think what I'm trying to really keep in mind, I'm not making it about myself right now.
Yeah.
Because there's a lady up the street with like 3 kids, and she seems to like work just by herself a whole time, and like, you know what I mean? Like she's gonna be screwed.
Yeah.
At least I've like been smart enough saved up some money, like really wanted to get a Tesla, but damn. I guess not anymore.
Damn it, Tesla.
So how about you guys though? It's been affecting you guys quite a bit, obviously.
Yeah, for me, I normally work at DreamWorks TV, and the studio's closed. Not closed, but they're severely limiting only necessary personnel on the campus.
Right.
Which I assume is, security, probably some HR people, maybe technical people to keep the pipeline going. But all the productions are basically working from home. We're all logging in remotely or trying to do stuff just via email, and it's been interesting.
Yeah.
It's certainly a dramatic slowdown, and a little concerns if we're all still going to hit our deadlines and all that stuff. But again, like you said, it's not about me. I mean, everybody's kind of struggling with the same thing.
Absolutely.
And a lot of, some studios have just flat out closed with no, just sent everybody home.
Right.
Fortunate enough, I'm still working. But it's a major impact for sure.
Yeah, and you can only do what you can do, right? I mean, like once the work completely dries up, then that's the story of you.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, can you freelance other stuff on the side, kind of thing, and?
Yeah, I mean, actually, they're not too strict about that as long as it's not a direct compete. Obviously, I couldn't take on something for Disney or something while I'm there, but
Sure,
I can certainly pick up like illustration stuff, which I do.
Here's an
unfortunately,
idea.
like yeah,
you can pick up a project for Disney and then quit, and then you can make a video about it.
Oh, I wonder if that's been done before.
Did you do that?
No, he didn't. It was. I'm trying to make a bad joke.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. No, there was this. There's this young lady that she quit Disney, and then it's almost as if she's using that I quit Disney thing to grow her YouTube audience.
Oh,
so
weird.
Yeah. Good, bad, or indifferent. I wish her well, because I'm a, like I said, I always say this. I'm a big fan of creative people. If you want to work at a studio, that's cool, but if you have a story to tell, focus on telling your story as well. Don't don't give the big folks 110%.
Sure.
Give them 100 and save 10 to 20% for yourself.
Yeah, have some of your own personal
Mathematically
stuff there.
impossible,
Yeah.
but I don't care.
I have to learn that all the time, man. And another thing that I learned recently, I'm not sure if you caught this, but I had an article featured in Heavy Metal, which was
Ooh.
like for an illustrator, that's like kind of getting an Academy Award kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, right.
So one thing I'm not sure if you guys have come across this, because I know you guys probably work on some pretty big projects as well, and I've always wanted to be in a magazine. I thought it was going to be Juxtapose for the longest time, if I'm being totally honest, because I really felt like my stuff fit into Juxtapose. And then a friend from Heavy Metal contacted me, and they were just super stoked on what I was doing. And there was this like street art issue coming up, which I'm not a street artist, but they just felt that my style kind of went with that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, came out, looks great. It was actually wrote by David Arquette and Cliff Dorfman. Cliff Dorfman used to be one of the writers for Entourage. And obviously David Arquette was in Scream and many other awesome movies.
Right. Yeah.
And anyway, so it came out, and I've never experienced this before. It was extremely humbling for me. Not that I'm not cocky with my art, but I was very humbled by the fact I was just in that magazine, because since I was born in the 70s, that magazine came out in like 77 or something like that. It was amazing to get in it, but I had such a void afterwards. I did not know what to do with myself. Have you guys ever come across that? I felt like I was like, okay, now what? I don't even want to paint anymore. I just built it up to this big level that once I finally got there, I had no idea what to do with myself afterwards. And that was really weird for me. I've never really come across that. I've done art shows all over the world, man, but this was different, you know?
Yeah.
It's weird.
For me, I get that sensation. I do a lot of, I do all freelance work, or I'm running my own project or company, whatever. But it seems like everything is coming at you at 100 miles an hour or 0 miles an hour.
Right.
So just last week, I was working on 3, possibly 4 different projects all at the same time. And then this week started, and I had finished everything. And it was kind of like, when you're running really fast and then you just kind of stop and everything on the inside keeps moving and bounces off your rib cage. That's what it was. Like, I was like, and then I stopped and I was like, what do I do with myself? Like,
yeah,
I had zero. I
recorded
some videos for you.
Void. Yeah.
So did you embrace that, or did you quickly try to fill it?
Oh no, I filled it. I completely filled it.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
I
can't just not work, man. I don't know what to do.
I don't know.
So
it's so part of
this
my
board game thing canceled on me. And like I said, they're going to pick it up again maybe in a year when people's money starts flowing in again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, shit, I don't know what to do. So I just started making my own board game. Yesterday, I'm almost finished the whole board. I don't even have any rules. I've drawn up a whole board, like a sort of like Mario Party board that you would go around, that I'm going to print out on a cardboard. So I'm going to make little pieces, and I don't know the rules yet.
Oh, okay.
That's the sort of way my mind works, because I'm just like, I've got to like make something. And I'll make it different to the one that I'm going to make for these guys, but I've got to keep making. You know what I mean? Like that was the hardest part about coming out with the heavy metal thing, because I didn't actually really have any projects after this. I had this painting in the background.
Yeah.
I started working on that after the project, but that was just a personal thing, and it's like it's huge, and I keep getting daunted by it. It's like 5 feet by 4 feet or something. It's a really big painting. But I was just wondering if you guys ever come across that, because that's honestly the first time. I mean, I did my first art show in 1994. That's the first time I've actually come across that feeling where I've reached a goal, I guess, and then had no idea what to do with myself afterwards.
Yeah.
Felt like quit. I was like, man, I'm done, I guess. So
I'm
weird.
I'm gonna go defend my family.
Yeah, I'm gonna go kick people in the chest if they come up my stairs. Maybe that's my calling now. Done with art. I'm just like a personal security guard for my family.
That's right. You did. We have an idea for a show right now. Like it's almost like if you remember Kung Fu, where David
Yeah.
Carradine was walking the land
Being
aimlessly
extreme.
and just whipping up on random bad guys, and
Yeah.
I think we got one.
Cool.
Lone,
I'm done.
lonesome lurk.
It's like the start of the show starts and just like it's just got this like close up shot of me just closing Heavy Metal magazine and the wind just blows it off into the distance. That was the day. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe someone get Heavy Metal to sponsor it.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Maybe. I think I'd rather just keep making stuff.
Yeah. How about you, Jack? What do you do when you're like
Yeah.
full steam ahead, or even like? Let me ask this, Russ. Are you talking about like the level, like once you
Yeah, I think you're talking about like
accomplish?
achievements, right?
I'm talking about achievements. So that the goal,
Okay.
the goal to get in that magazine, and then once I finally had the achievement of getting into a magazine that I mean, I'd had interviews in like snowboard magazines and skateboard magazines, but they're not dedicated art magazines. Like Heavy Metal, that's like Frazetta, dude.
Yeah.
That's like,
That's
Yeah.
you know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Obey was in the same issue as me. That's heavy feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very humbled by it and very scared. And when it finally came, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. What do I do now? I start kicking people in the chest.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna walk around aimlessly, protecting my family.
Aimlessly. That's what I felt like, just really aimless. But Jack, what?
I mean, I'm not sure that I've gotten there in terms of like achievements per se, because all the I mean, I've gotten to like past goals that I had set for myself, way back in school and whatnot, and
Sure.
I'm still kind of surprised that the goalpost keeps moving. That you
Right.
get to that point, and then you're like, oh well.
That was easy.
10 years ago, that was my dream goal, and now it's gone, right? Or I'm past it, so like now it's next. But I don't know that I've had the like full stop. I haven't
Mhm.
quite had that yet.
Well, then you're lucky. Because it feels horrible.
Right.
It
Yeah.
feels horrible. It
Like-
honestly does.
Is it kind of like a
It doesn't have any any component of like empowerment or like incredible like accomplishment.
No, didn't feel empowered at all. I felt
Really?
I think you know what it is. I think what they call that is like imposter syndrome.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I felt like I still to this day feel like I don't deserve it. I'm not looking for compliments. I really to this day still feel like, how did you pull that off? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, how did you
Right.
do that? That's because you're not on Shepard Fairey's level. You're not like Ron English was the editor for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty heavy hitting, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
It's just I don't know. I think it was interesting. I can schmooze with low lifes and high lifes. So it's not like it's like I'm like starstruck by it even.
Can
hard
we
to
say
explain. It was-
can we say that you have friends in low places?
I've been tattooing for 17 years, man. I've got shit I'll take to the grave, brother.
How much of this is just a creative person's mentality? You know what I mean? Like for me, it's about the journey,
Mm-hmm.
not the destination. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to figure things out, trying to come up with a process, trying
Sure.
to make the system work. For me, means way more than actually getting to something. And maybe I'm not sure why, but that's for me. Like for example, I've been on plenty of basketball teams, and we've been in leagues and traveled and done a bunch of different things. And then we end up being really good. We make it through the playoffs, and then we win the championship. And the championship is just kind of like okay, we're done, right?
Done.
So,
yeah.
okay, so now I don't get to ride the bus for another, 4 or 5 months.
Right.
So I guess for me, the race is way more important than the finish line.
I get that sometimes with like clothing I bid on. I like to bid on secondhand clothing on Grailed and stuff like that. I like sneakers and stuff like that. And then I'll get the sneaker and I'll be like, eh.
Do you guys
bid? I like the
Yeah.
getting it for cheap. I like the all of that part of it. But once I finally get it, I'm like, I'm gonna wear it, but
Yeah, and that too. Well, here we're gonna go off on a tangent. You remember when all of these auction sites first came out? I was buying dumb things
like StockX,
just to win.
yeah.
I don't know how many golf clubs I ended up buying. I want to say I probably won a toaster at some point.
Wow.
Look at
But
Jack's
that's like
face.
that eBay. Like when eBay first started coming out, people would just like bid in.
Yeah.
And then getting dinged on the shipping and not realizing, because nobody really knew how that shit worked. If you
Right.
ran a business already, you knew how shipping worked.
Right.
But then you'd like ship something from China, you'd get it for $5, but then your shipping was $30, and you're like, what? God. You know?
Yeah. That's like the Columbia House and the BMI, I think.
Right.
Those record companies back in the day, back when when TVs you had to stand up to go change the channel. There was this thing called Columbia House that for a penny they would send you like 5 records, but then they would charge you like $500 shipping and handling.
The comic books had them in the back as well for like different comic book stuff, right? So you had to get like X amount of back issues of like Avengers. But then, like, there's other ones as well where you'd like subscribe to like a toy thing.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember there was like Dungeons and Dragons through mail?
No.
Yeah. So they would be in the back of the comic book sometimes. So you would there'd be a dungeon master somewhere. He'd write a letter out to X amount of people that paid into this, and then you'd all write back.
That
like,
sounds
what a long.
Yeah.
Yes, man.
Horribly inefficient.
Horrible.
Do we want to talk about the back of the comic book back in the day when they said I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna say those X-ray glasses did not work.
I had the X-ray glasses. Yes.
And they got me because of the ad. If you guys remember the ad, like the guy was seeing through his hand, and then on the other side was this lady, a drawing of a lady. I was like, I need those.
Yeah, those seem like the right thing to do.
And now I understand that that's improper behavior. I've learned. I've matured.
Oh, that's what you learned. You didn't learn that's what a scam is.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
he's still getting scammed. He does it in a proper way now.
I get scammed like a gentleman.
Cooler. You went for coolest cooler.
You can't cancel me should be your slogan.
Yeah, right. No, coolest cooler came through. And it's I stand by my decision.
Oh.
Wow.
For no other reason than whenever I go to a picnic or whatever and I'm pulling that thing along, it's a conversation starter. Look at.
Okay.
People are always like, "Yay, is that coolest cooler?" I'm like, "Yeah," and then
Nobody said that.
No, they did. They did for real.
Are you just dragging it though because the wheels have come off of it?
The wheels are fine. I will say you can probably once you put ice in it, you might be able to put like a pack of Starburst in there. You can't fit shit in there.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Amazing.
Yeah, you might be able to put like a can of Coke or something in there. But
great.
if you have the way they sold it, and like, what do you do with the blender? Like, where do you put the blender part? You gotta put that in the bag. You can't put that in the cooler either. There's no hinges for it, whatever. But all in all, it's really cool.
Go back to telling me how you stand by your decision.
Sounds great.
I do. Going back to the comic books, though, the glasses were complete horseshit. And then there was this one dude. I forget his name, but he used to always stand like Superman. And I was like, well, I had collected a certain amount of points, and it said, get the secret workout of superheroes, whatever. So I went and got that damn book, and the stupid book told me do as many push-ups as you possibly can.
Yeah, well, I wasn't wrong.
Yeah. Pretty right.
At least that was not a scam. No.
It was, yeah.
No, it just took your effort. That was the problem.
I'm like, come on, I need man boobs.
I think somebody told me once that was like, we ended up working out. He was like, you actually only ever need to do pull-ups, squats, and push-ups. That's probably all you would ever actually need. Maybe deadlifts.
Yeah.
You don't really need anything else. That's all you would ever actually need.
All those fancy exercises that folks do in the gym, it's all just a version of pull-ups, push-ups.
Right.
And don't do sit-ups, because that will hurt your back. Do planks and you'll be fine. And then you'll be, and then do squats. You want to do squats and lunges and stuff because you don't need spaghetti legs.
I got to be careful with that, man. I've got the metal legs, so I've got to be careful with that.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
Yeah. I've got a hip replacement.
Nice.
Part robot.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, little tink.
I'll show you. I'll send you the X-ray one day. It's pretty interesting looking, man. It straight up looks like a cybernetic organism is inside of my leg.
Yeah.
Really?
It's really weird. Like they couldn't have made it look any more robot. What's that?
Can you operate it with a computer? Like, can you send messages through your hip?
From your iPhone?
It sucks going through the airport. I know that. They stop. I just as I walk towards the thing, I'm like, I've got a hip replacement. They're like, oh, okay, come this way.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally sets the machines off.
Yeah. What'd you do to your hip for you to need a hip replacement?
It was actually nothing I really did. It was a bone deformity. So the head of the femur grew too big for the socket and just bore it out. It wouldn't have mattered what sport I did. Yeah. I skateboarded since the 80s, right up until I had the surgery. Yeah. And I did judo as well. So I'm not sure if guys know anything about judo, but it's essentially jiu-jitsu, like wrestling, basically.
Yeah. It's a lot of hip tosses and stuff. So
not great for hip replacement.
Yeah.
So I don't do any of that anymore. Now I do ice cream.
What is it? Jack, what was his name? Panette. He goes, I don't do ups. I don't do push-ups, pull-ups. I do downs. Sit down, lay down. When I'm feeling frisky, a little get down.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty much getting there. But I did recently, I'm like the keto kid right now. I did that keto diet, and it totally worked for me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah?
Have you guys heard about that? You just cut a bunch of shit out, and man, I'm like down 2 pant sizes. I'm feeling good. I got loads of energy. I'm kind of not doing it anymore because it's kind of hard on your body because all you're doing is pretty much eating meat and vegetables. But yeah, man, totally worked. It was crazy. Turns out if you don't eat shit, you get healthier.
Yeah,
that's like Carlos's magazine subscription.
Yeah, totally.
Just eat healthy.
Well, that's how I found out about it. I was on the back of the new Marvel comic books, and I've advanced a little bit now. You want to learn about keto, kid? Yeah.
Do you want to look like a superhero? Do Keto Diet.
Do you want to look like a 43-year-old guy that went down 2 pant sizes? We got the diet for you. It's a picture of me. Just thumbs up. Wow, I like how we're not talking about anything to do with art right now. This is great.
I know. Hey, Ellie Heisel. Hey, girl. Hey, guys, I'm late, but I watched that 2 times speed to catch up. That's okay.
Wow.
Can we talk about genius?
Yeah, that is kind of.
Does that actually work? Because I've heard people do that. Like, do you actually absorb anything? Do you actually hear it? I'm
Yeah.
very curious. Really?
I think people will take them differently. Actually, I was watching everything at 1.5 speed on my laptop, and I think I'd been doing it for months, watching podcasts. And eventually, my wife came and she's like, "Why are you doing that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just watching a show." And she's like, "No, it's on the wrong speed." I didn't know.
Oh, you didn't even know. Or did you just get used to it?
Months of watching like Joe Rogan be like, blah, 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 blah. It's like talking like this. I'm like, God, this guy talks fast, man. Like, it's weird.
You know what's funny? On a similar note, how do I say this without admitting to some stuff?
Oh, admit to it.
Let's just say I learned a karaoke song from a version of the song that was probably like 1.5 times as fast, you know?
Uh-huh.
So then I go to sing this stupid song at karaoke, and it's really slow.
Oh.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Quickly grab the lithium and slow it right down.
And I was like, I don't know what to do with this song. So I was hot trash. Well, hot trasher, because I'm not a singer, but yeah.
Yeah. And you thought you had it in the bag, I bet. You were like, I've got this.
I was ready. I was like, yeah, I got my little handbook that teaches me how to have the physique of a superhero. I have these x-ray glasses, and I have my go-to karaoke song. I was ready to win. I was ready to win life.
Yeah.
That's a character right there. I'm ready to see that.
Careful that doesn't leave a void after you've done it all.
This is true.
And then it turns out that yeah, I learned that day, don't pirate music.
That I was waiting for the moment that you supposedly were revealing too much. I was like, what about that? What, that you sing karaoke?
I just like that there was like a lesson at the end. It was like a Scooby-Doo moment for sure.
Yeah.
Eventually, I learned.
This, kids, why you don't do this.
Yeah, as I'm standing up on stage with my what'd you call it? My scam glasses, my scam workout routine, and I had some.
In my head, I like to think that you go on stage and you did about 50 push-ups first, and then you did the song.
Elizabeth says, I usually never listen at 2 times speed because it requires more focus for me. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't know that I would really absorb the content, but
there's some people they swear that it works, and they just blah, 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 blah. And then, like, you know, they tap out of the Matrix and they know Kung Fu.
Yeah, honestly.
Trying to talk about the Matrix right now.
I feel like we're in some sort of simulation right now, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. We were just talking about that before the show, that everything that's happening is pretty weird. You wonder if there's some kind of tests going on, somebody's fiddling with the numbers.
Yeah.
There's a virus, like a real virus in
Yeah,
the software.
Like, speaking of Joe Rogan, he had this bit that he would do where what was it? Like the powers that be said, let's see if we can convince people that a good leader can be a complete dumbass. And so they put George Bush, the second one, in office. And then the powers that be said, no, we can go dumber. And here we are.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. how do you even get into this subject? I feel like I don't really have much of a horse in that race, being Canadian, you know?
And at the end of the day, quite honestly, like, what can we do? They're the majority of the company, or the company.
The company.
Not even the majority.
Yeah.
Not even the majority of the. Which, yeah, I mean, I guess it could be a company, but
maybe.
the way that it works out, he's president, so you got to just relax and hope he does the right thing.
I mean, normally what I normally do when I watch him is I just hope that he can actually string the sentence together that he's going to try to string together, because that seems to be one of his main issues, is just making sense.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm from England originally, and my friends in England are saying the guy that they have over there is not much better. This is
well read.
Totally true. I'm not joking you. I'm not exaggerating. So my friend I had an art show in Portland in August. My friend from England came out to be like the photographer for it. And I was like laughing to him. I was like, "Oh, what's with that new comedian from England?" And he's like, "Which guy?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. He makes fun of like politics and stuff." And he's like, he's racking his brain. This is totally serious. He's racking his brain.
Oh no, really?
What are you talking about? And I was like, "Dude, he kind of looks like an English version of Trump." And he's like,
He does.
"That's the prime minister." I'm like, no. He's the guy that's like pretending to be the prime minister. So he showed me a picture. I'm like, "Yeah, that guy." He's like, "No, dude, that's the Prime Minister of England right now." And I'm like, "Oh, I thought that guy was an actor." Straight up thought that guy was like doing some sort of satire. Like, I thought he was one of the best comedians out there. I was like, "Wow, this guy's great."
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Turns out he's not great. He's just an idiot, and very much like his American counterpart friend there, I'd say.
Yeah. There's... Honestly, right now, there's really nothing we can do.
Yeah.
But watch out for ourselves. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
there's some things that at the very beginning of this, I was hoping that it was going to be, that people were blowing it out of proportion, and I was wishing him the best. But, like,
Sure.
Like, it's almost like, and sorry if this triggers anyone, but it's almost like the battered wife syndrome, right? Like, he hits you and then he sees that you're hurt, and then you threaten to leave, and he apologizes and no, I'm changing. But then a week later, like, it happens again, and then again, and then again, and then again. And I mean, and I know that there's a lot of it is over dramatization of whatever news outlet you listen to. That's why I listen to all of them, to see and try to make a well-versed or a well-educated decision on all of my stances. But like, Jesus, quite honestly, and this has almost zero to do with Trump, like, I'm just tired of bad news.
Yeah.
If it's not Russia, it's tax breaks going to the wrong people, and if it's not that, it's people losing their job. If it's not that, it's a shooting. If it's not that, it's Ebola. If it's not Ebola, like, seriously?
Yeah.
What a
But
good
that's why
solar
I'm hoping with
flare
what's going on
wouldn't
right
fix.
now. With what's going on right now, like, I'm just kind of hoping that it does. I don't know. Maybe this is a big hope. I'm hoping it brings people together and makes them realize that we can work together. And
yeah, and that's all you can. If there is going to be, if you are going to try to leverage hopes and prayers, that's the one. Like, and I think, as a society, we have a really bad habit of trying to address the symptom instead of the system.
Sure.
Oh, here's a Band-Aid. It's going to help everything.
Yeah.
Instead of actually, and this is everything, like going back to our diets that we were talking about.
Yeah.
If you eat like trash, you feel like trash. How does that not make sense to you?
Right.
Everyone's been saying you are what you eat. If you empty the buffet, you're gonna look like you emptied the buffet.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to live your life. Nobody, like, handle your business. I know I don't care. Like, as long as you're happy and you're trying to be the best person that you can be, we're on the same team. If you're an ass, we got to talk.
There's a reason, yeah.
We got to talk. We got to figure out what it is that's going on in your head. Did your dad not love you enough? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
just enough is enough. Like, we need grown-ups to be grown-ups again. Like, you turn on the news and you have all these politicians playing the victim role. How about you stop and you do your job? Whatever happened to that?
Yeah. No, it's true, man. It's true. Yeah, I don't know. And it seems to be like the same for a lot of countries, though. I think like Europe seems to be doing really well right now. I saw a really nice speech from the German Prime Minister this morning. I can't remember her name right now. Merkel?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. She really like did a really good, strong, like let's pull up our people type of speech this morning. I was like, that's kind of nice to hear, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you want.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. But what do you do? Keep drawing, keep painting, keep creating.
Keep drawing, keep painting.
What people have been. That's been like this overall theme that I've been noticing in the last few days. I've been posting stuff, and I've been trying to not post stuff for sale as much because I feel a bit weird about that right now.
Yeah.
But I've been just posting images, like old ones. I've been maybe pulling them into Photoshop, changing the colors on them a little bit. You know what I mean? Just messing around with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a lot of people comment and being like, we love your positivity. Just keep posting stuff for us to look at right now.
Right. And that's another thing. You know, I run my own YouTube channel separate from Sketch Zone. And I've been not just watching, but I've been listening to people like interacting. And they're asking creators to continue to create because they need something to take their mind off of the stress.
Yeah.
And so, challenge accepted. Like, that's why we're here tonight. I just released a video before we went on, and, you know, like, that's the stuff that, and it doesn't even have to be, I almost said swine flu. That's how many things like happen all at the same time. Ebola, swine flu, this, that thing. Coronavirus. I like to take my mind off of things, even if it's not just this. Just like the stress of trying to survive, trying to. You have to look for work, you have to do the work, you have to chase your money, you have to do all this stuff, and that gets so heavy. So I work, I draw, I try to get better at art. I'm trying to be a better writer. I'm trying to, I'm just trying to make things and help. At the end of the day, I'm trying to make content to make the world what I want the world to be like.
Oh God, my world would be weird.
That's all right.
My world would be very trippy, and it would look like we were all taking mushrooms all day.
I'd give that a go. I can't say that I've done mushrooms, but you know.
That's actually the
if I know that I'm coming back, I'll go.
The angle for the D&D game that we're going to work on is so it's a book-driven D&D game, so it's actually like traditional and RPG. But one of the angles we're going to go for, which nobody's ever done, it's always dark, scary dungeons. We're actually going to go for bright, hallucinogen sort of like mushroom fields and like weird like trees and stuff. So it's actually horrific in different ways, maybe like a bad trip
Yeah.
or like, and the creatures maybe they don't just attack with such.
Uh-oh. I think we lost him. You still with me?
Man.
Yeah.
Oh,
There he
I
is.
got-
All right, cool.
Yeah. So I think it's I think having my world would be pretty crazy. Yeah, you guys keep cutting out just a little bit. That's okay though.
I'm in on your world. I would give it a go. Yeah. You still with
Yeah.
us?
So is it
Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
okay? So is it like it's still like fighting and building characters, right? But it's like
Sure.
it's just the theme is kind of trippy and weird, and magic mushroom man attacks you with cloud puff.
Like one of the things, and like I had to like get my head around in my sketchbooks was because I played those games the last time in the 80s when I was a little kid, to be like totally honest. I wasn't like not exactly it's not like I'm this big fan that really wants to make a game right now. I just love making games. But yeah, so in my mind I just had these classic sort of Dungeons and Dragons style illustrations in my mind. So I was kind of worried that my stuff would be too bright and like whimsical almost, you know what I mean? To be scary.
Yeah.
But the people that hired me are really adamant that there is a market out there for stuff that looks different, because everything does just look like knights
For sure.
and dragons and ogres, right? They're like, keep it almost in that world, but like do your thing. That's what they want. So hopefully the project will pick up again. Like as I said, like when all this blows over, I mean, hopefully picks up again and I get to do it. I mean, I've filled out almost 2 sketchbooks of just sketches in the last couple of weeks.
It's amazing.
So I've got all the characters all getting sketched up already, and now I'm just making my own game, apparently a totally different one.
Russ was like,
Hey.
yeah, that was easy enough.
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
for 1.
I mean, like, one of the other big goals I've always wanted to do is, I mean, I've done animation. I've got some music videos out there that I've animated for hip-hop artists. And I've always wanted to have a video game as well. And so I looked into that a little while ago, and man, that price was very daunting. I think
Yeah.
conservatively, for a very simple little like LURK game that might be a simple platformer, 150,000. I think they said would start at.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I was just like, that's cool.
Thank you for that information.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with card games, stuff you can make on cardboard.
Yeah.
Just cheaper to do. But one day that would be the other goal. I think that would leave a void in my body, though, would be if I ever had my own video game.
Yeah.
I was potentially going to be doing a mural for Ubisoft in San Francisco coming up this year. And I'm not sure if you guys know who they are, but they're like a huge video game developer.
For sure.
And we were starting to talk a little bit about it, but I think, again, with what's going on in the world right now, that's probably not something I'm going to be pushing too much, because I think they've probably got some bigger things to think about.
Yeah.
Get back to work.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need some dude from Canada that's painted a fucking weird picture on the wall. They don't care about that's the problem. Like when you're, I mean, as you guys probably know, and it's when you're a freelance illustrator and artist, you can definitely be the lowest man on that totem pole,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's the hustle.
Yeah, but I mean, alternatively, sometimes you're kind of, it's like a weird paradox, because sometimes you're also like, I don't want to say the highest, but you're like, this special guy that got sought out, and you're doing a very specific project for them, and they can kind of view you as this special entity. But yes, you're freelance, so at the end of the day, it's kind of, you're sort of disposable.
Yeah, of course, right? And that's why I think it was really important for me to like try to build my artwork as a brand as well. So at the end of the day, like even if I'm not getting hired by companies, I'm still always doing my own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys handle if someone sees your work and loves your style and then hires you for your style, but then tries to art direct you? How do you guys handle that situation?
And I kind of like, you put your hand here, then the other hand goes behind the back of the neck, and you just pull backwards until they can't breathe.
You put him to
No,
sleep.
yeah, you put them to sleep. No, I don't know. Jack, you go ahead. I've been talking too much anyway.
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, again, it depends on how badly you need the project. But I have kind of gotten to the point where, yeah, if you're hiring, you found me online for clearly a specific reason, and you reached out to me to see if I do commissions or freelance work for a reason. So I kind of just, I generally start the conversation that way. It's like, well, how much they ask that, how much do you cost, or like what, tell me how this works. And that's kind of one of the given caveats is I'm not gonna be that guy who's like, you can't give me any input or any notes, because that's not commercial art, right? That's you buying a piece of fine art, basically. But I do put limits on how many rounds of notes and revisions we can do. I've actually had a couple of clients that I've basically convinced that, I mean, some of it was their idea too, but it's like, we'll give you our upfront thoughts and notes, and then please just you do whatever you want to do. And then it's rare, but I would get like 1 or 2 notes, and it's generally no big deal. But yeah, I mean, on the flip side, I've had a couple that, come in and it's like, I did what I wanted to do, and then you want to go a totally different direction, and you probably should have hired someone else. But
yes,
those ones are trickier. Again, it depends on how badly you need that project, and how far you're in along the process before they pull that one on you. Honestly, I just kind of sucked it up and got those projects out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're hitting the nail right in the head. Like, how badly do you need it? How badly do you want it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that mortgage payment looking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learn more from also sometimes, like, I'm not sure if you guys go through this, but learn more from sometimes like outsider's perspective. Like my wife, she likes to do art. I mean, she does like fun, cute little bits of art, but she works very much in a corporate job. And I had a very similar situation to what he's talking about, where it's like you're really far into a project, and then they're changing it so much that you're almost like, why did you hire me?
Yeah.
Like you're essentially telling me to draw not my style, but you started the conversation saying how much you love my style.
Yeah.
And within this one project, I can't name any names, but I also got accused of culturally appropriating people. So that was fun.
Good.
So that's always a fun thing to throw in, even though they asked for a 60s vibe with a East Indian goddess. I'm like, well, then it might. The best thing is the person that's telling me this was a white guy with dreadlocks with a Japanese tattoo sleeve, and I was like, a little problematic yourself there, bud.
Yeah.
But anyway,
oh man.
But my point being is, what happened eventually is, because I was getting frustrated, and I think you're right. It's like, I'm thinking, wow, the money's good, like they're paying good. My wife turned around, she said, well, how long does it take you to fix that? I'm like, well, it takes like an hour or two. And she's like, so they pay you every time when they fix it, when you have to change it? I'm like, yep. She's like, let them keep changing it.
Yeah.
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 I'm not going to go with the figures exactly, but a t-shirt design that was maybe like pretty average cost for what most people would price out for a t-shirt design ended up costing them 4 times the amount.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know how they made profit on the t-shirt sales anymore by the time they, because it wasn't a big company.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small independent company, but they just had to change it. Okay. So this happens in tattooing a lot as well, where I've actually, because of how long I've been tattooing now, I've kind of clamped it down, where I'm like, hey, I only do my LURK tattoos, and I do traditional sailor style tattoos. That's what I love to do. I don't really do anything else outside that. I used to do illustration and everything, big pieces, whatever.
Yeah.
But it happens at some point with clients, if you don't, especially in tattooing more than anything, because I guess it is permanent, it's going on their body, and they really want control.
Yeah.
I'll say to them, like, you're just drawing through my hand at this point.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if this is what you want, just tell me how to draw it. I'll just draw it.
Yeah.
And it's like soul crushing for the artist, but it's just like, you can tell you're not getting through to them.
Right.
They love you, quote unquote, but they just can't draw. So
Right.
they just want
They just
somebody
need
to
someone
be
to
there.
hold the
You're like
pen.
a
Yeah.
plotter machine, and you're just like tick 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 tick, just drawing this thing that's in their mind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it happens. I think honestly, it happens more for me in tattooing than it does in illustration.
Hmm.
Like the controlling client, the changes.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean, to play devil's advocate, I kind of understand that, given it's your body and that stuff. But it's like,
Totally.
yeah. Again, like if you're seeking out a specific tattoo artist, like, I mean, that's part of the deal, right? I mean, that's
It is part of the deal, and I'll say I agree with you. I do understand it, but it's the specific thing that I don't. If somebody just comes to me and right off the bat they're like, I don't care who does it, I just want this, and I say, okay, I'll do that, and then they micromanage me, I don't get a say in that anymore.
Right. Sure.
But if you're coming to me and you're fucking blowing smoke up my ass and being like, you're the best, and blah blah blah. Everybody's told me to come to you. I really like the way you draw this, this, and this, and then you draw it that way, and they're like, that's not what I want. You're like, that's crazy to me. That's a little bit like, okay, but again, you got to decide.
Right.
Well, am I going to keep the lights on, or am I going to be a fucking diva about this? You know?
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
I can swear on this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have been.
Okay.
The other kind of the other
ones that I was like, wait, can I swear? Is my mom watching? Can you check?
No.
Hang up, Mom.
Actually, still don't swear in front of my mom.
What's your mom's username?
I was gonna make up some like really horribly dark humor, disgusting. But yeah, I still don't swear in front of my mom, and my wife Michelle, she fucking constantly swears in front of her mom, and it makes me feel so uncomfortable. It's so weird, and we come from a pretty like rough, lower middle class Northern English family, like where it's pretty rough where we were from.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't swear in front of her, and my wife kind of comes from a better family, but she swears like a trooper in front of her mom, and every time I've just got like my mouth open, being like, "You swear in front of your mom?" Like, but her mom doesn't swear.
Don't you love her, Mom? She's such a lady.
So weird, right? Huh. Anyway.
Jack, what were you saying?
Sorry, we got excited.
Yeah. No. What were we talking about? The kind of the other side of that, the coin of the client trying to micromanage you. Obviously, if take the component of this is purely for money or not kind of out of the equation, and just that it's part of your day-to-day job. And I'm sure this is different for like a tattoo industry because you're dealing specifically with one very personal client. But when it's a company or a group of people or a studio, one of the things I think that's really often overlooked, and it's a really difficult. It's not a very natural skill. At least it wasn't for me. I had to learn it. It's not a natural skill for a lot of artists. Is that there's a massive component of like psychology attached to this, right? Like they're coming at this with a very specific goal in mind, and they all have their own little images of what the outcome is going to be, whether they're artists or not. And the kind of trick or skill I've sort of had to learn, especially as I've gone on and become like manager, managing people and kind of producing projects, is you kind of always want to like figure out like what is the essence of the note or the change, like, because if you can do that, if you can sort of figure out, well, not hyper focus on change that snake to a blue snake and kind of figure out why they're giving the note in the first place or what it is that they're trying to get at, then you can kind of manipulate them into your vision. And I mean, on a larger scale project, you're trying to reduce costs, you're trying to reduce the amount of changes and overhead and all the workload. But I suppose even on like a small scale thing, like a single illustration or something, there's still that. Obviously, like when I do like character designs and character commissions, it's like, obviously I don't want to go back to the concept phase and redesign your whole character. So if you're coming at me stage 3 and you're like, oh, well, it should have been a woman, it's like, okay, that's something that should have happened, at sketch phase. So obviously there's a certain regimen to figure out, but say you get that type of note that's probably a bad example, but say, oh, we wanted them to be way more evil and stuff. It's like if you can kind of get to the core of why they're even saying that in the first place, then hopefully you can kind of steer the conversation, steer the art direction back towards something a little more towards what your vision was originally.
Sounds like you'd be a great tattoo artist, man.
Well, it's all easy to say this, but in practice, when somebody's like, "Nah, man, I wanted a frog" or whatever, and you're like,
but like what you're saying there is pretty much exactly how we explain custom tattoos to people.
Yeah,
like pretty much, you're hitting the nail right on the head, and we try to bring it back so it's almost like when you find out why they want to change something as well, then you're on some sort of common ground with them.
Yeah,
and I think it's much easier to like put your words back in, because I think what happens sometimes, especially in the tattoo industry, is like if you just come at them too hard and be like, "No, man, this is going to look better," or "You should do it this way," without, like you said, like fully understanding why they wanted to change it in the first place, they feel attacked, because essentially what you're saying is your idea is stupid. So then they're like, "Oh," and then they get that back up. Now, if you continue through the whole process, now you've got two people in a process like, I didn't really want to make the changes, so I'm not enjoying doing it.
Right.
They didn't want to make the changes, so they're not really stoked on it anymore. And nobody's really communicating properly, right? Mm-hmm. So it is absolutely like right. And I think what you're saying applies to many industries, really. Actually figuring out why. Why did they make that change? Why did they have that feeling that they needed to do that? I don't need their backstory. I don't need because it's like, well, because grandpa fucking had a bluebird when he was younger and his leg fell off and grandma's head exploded. I don't need the whole backstory. You know what I mean?
That's a hell of a backstory. I want to know that one.
It's a great tattoo, by the way. But you know what? I totally agree with you, man. And I think that's really important for everybody to learn that lesson, and especially in the creative industry, right? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one that I mean, it comes up literally all the time. I mean, it's kind of the core of people working together. But one of the like little tricks I've found, I've observed other people do, and I do myself. It's like if someone gives a note, it's kind of, or if you can tell they're hesitating about something, but they don't really know what to say. You can just kind of propose the question, like, well, what's one of the phrases somebody at work always uses is "what's bumping you," right? Because it sort of forces them to then, first of all, figure out what it is. Because a lot of times non-creatives have a really hard time even knowing what it is they don't like about it. They just don't like it, right?
Right.
So if you can at least get them talking and like thinking, then they're like, oh, okay, well, I don't like that shirt because of this. And then it's like, then you can start talking. And even though they're probably saying really specific things, like I don't like the shirt and the scallops, but then usually they'll say something in there because it makes her look fat or something like that. And you're like, okay, now we're there. It's like, you want to get to that because rather than I don't like this and this and this.
Right.
Because once you have that, because you as the artist or the creative can come up with like 1,000 solutions as to how to solve the issue without a ton of work.
Yeah, and that's your job, right? And I think you're hitting the nail right in the head. It's nice to hear as well, like from somebody else, because I just deal with this all the time. But it's nice to hear it, like somebody saying it back to you, right? Because you're like, yeah, that is what we do, and that is what we're supposed to do. But like I said, also equally as important to have somebody like what my wife would do, like a totally outsider who doesn't work in that sort of industry, just being like, think about this as well, dude. She's like, sure. I make fucking this much an hour working my ass off. You're telling me you're complaining because you had to change like 2 hours of a design and got paid an extra, like, whatever it would be. You're like, get out of here, dude. Like, are you kidding me?
Yep. That is the other side of that coin. And we talk about that on this show a lot too. It's like you're getting paid for a specific role. So keep that in mind. You got to be realistic about that.
And again, to go back to the tattooing thing, it's interesting because I play between both worlds in illustration and tattooing. In illustration, on a good project, I could probably charge about $75 an hour US. Tattooing, $160 an hour, and not one person would even blink at that price. But the 75 for illustration.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It's so strange. But tattoos all day. I can sell tattoos. I can sell a $500 tattoo to somebody that's only got $200. No problem. But
interesting.
Yeah, illustrations are I haven't figured out what it is. I haven't figured out why there's more value put it. I guess because it is on your skin and they say all that stuff. I think there's no accepted price out in the world for illustration. It
Correct.
always disheartens me when I see, and I've got to be careful how I word this because I already got in trouble for wording something weird today online. But it really disheartens me when I see kids that are really good at doing illustration and fine art, and then they're just selling their pieces for $10.
Yeah.
Because it sets a really, really weird precedent for everybody else. Because then the same person that buys that for $10 comes along to me and is like, "Hey, I want to buy that piece." I'm like, "Yeah, $800." I'm like, $800, dude. And I'm like,
Right.
"Yeah, it like basically works out at minimum wage when I think about the time it took me to do it. Like,
Right.
blah blah blah." So it's very interesting, like how in some industries, just very accepted. Like even in animation, I have a friend that works in animation. He's at Warner Brothers right now, and he's like, "Yeah, just charge out X amount of dollars." And it was quite a high price. And he's like, "People that are going to work on that project, they don't even blink. They're just like, yeah, that's what it costs." But it's so much harder for an illustrator to come up with that price and then be like, "Oh, okay." And it's normally because it's attached to a product, right? So it's like you do a t-shirt design or a skateboard. I've done lots of work in the skateboard industry, and those guys like to pay low. Normally because, I've worked in the skateboard industry. A skateboard on the shelf costs $70.
Right.
It's cost the company $40 to make it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So like they don't have much wiggle room. Like even if they're selling thousands of units, they still got to pay the pro rider. They've got to pay for the advert. They've got to pay all of that stuff, right? So like there's definitely like some stuff like that where I get it,
Yeah, but it's also like if you break down that cost matrix, it's like, are all those other components getting paid their fair share? And just there's this one highlighted area of artists that's like, well, we can cut the budget there.
Okay, can I give you a true story? I'm sure I won't get in trouble for this, but I'm not sure if you can see them, but up above, you can't see them, but above me, I designed some shoes for Etnies. It's a pretty big skateboard company. They make skateboard shoes, essentially. I designed a pair of shoes for them. I got paid X amount, which I thought was quite low for a multi-million-dollar company. They sent a photographer up from California, rented the cameras for him, paid for him to stay in a hotel to shoot a video with me for their advert for the shoe.
Nice.
And he got paid like his equipment cost and his travel cost was way more than I got paid to make the shoe.
Yep.
Like, how does that make any sense?
I'm trying to remember. I was watching a YouTube video. This guy that does music videos, he came right out and he was like, "Look, you as the music video director or whatever, be ready because you're going to be the least paid person on the shoot." And there's something that's happening where, I mean, it's been happening forever, but artists are generally treated like this, underpaid and overworked, because I think that the people that are having it done, they just need to have something done. So exactly what you were saying, Russ, was, you have these kids selling drawings for $10. These companies know that. And they know that I can't tell you how many times I'm talking to like business owners and they're like, "Oh yeah," they're bragging to me after me telling them what the hell I do for a living. They're bragging to me, "Oh yeah, all that stuff I get on Fiverr."
Right. So can I tell you another side of this that's interesting then? So definitely felt I didn't get paid enough for that project. One thing I really feel that does happen with these projects as well is they definitely try to sell you on that like whole, "Oh, well, you just did a shoe for like one of the biggest skateboard companies in the world. This is totally going to get you more clients."
Exposure, yeah.
I don't feel it works that way. Even though I got paid, and it was fair enough, I guess. I think what happens is now when people come along, you've got to be very careful because they can see the companies you've worked for and then just make the assumption that they can't afford you. So you actually can kind of cut out a middle market, which probably would have been more consistent job-wise for you as an illustrator, because now people are just making an assumption. They're like, oh, you've made shoes for this person, or you've been on this magazine.
Right.
Did I get any calls because of heavy metal? No. It's some of the best paintings I've ever made in that magazine. Ever.
Yeah.
But now people might just assume, oh, he's out of our price range.
Right.
Now you're just waiting for this one big fish to come along. Well, they don't always come along. Whereas lots of medium-sized fish, there's lots of those in the pond. You know? They're all swimming around. So it's like, there is that side to it too, where you, as an illustrator, you've got to be very careful that you haven't have the perception that you're too expensive now.
Yeah.
You know?
And at the same time, don't undersell yourself, because
Absolutely.
Especially these days, and I tell young artists this all the time: work on your own stuff. You don't need exposure from any companies anymore. Those days are gone. You have Instagram, you have Facebook, you have YouTube, you have all of the social media stuff handles exposure for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Elizabeth just said, Fiverr disgusts and saddens me. And you know what's... I go on YouTube. You know that Fiverr must have spent a ton of money on advertising, because all I get now is Fiverr stuff. And they're starting... I showed a couple things to Jack. Fiverr is starting to get some of these bigger YouTube channels that might even do creative work. And then they'll go on Fiverr, and then they spend like a couple $100 just to see what Fiverr would do as content. So Fiverr is paying these content creators that are doing the same exact thing, and they're like, oh, hey, let's take a look at what people on Fiverr are going to do. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. And it brought me back to... I had to have a nice conversation with my mom, now that we're talking about moms. I had to have a conversation with my mom. She's like, hey, she runs the food pantry for the church that she goes to. And she says, hey, we need a logo for the food pantry. I was like, all right, cool. So I started doing my thing. I'm going to come up with some sketches, and we'll figure it out. The whole communication thing. We'll talk, and then we'll figure out where we need to go with this logo, blah, blah, blah. We're halfway through the process, and then she starts saying, oh, hey, just to show you, there's this other person that's working on ideas too. And I was like, what? She goes, yeah, so it's kind of like a competition. And I was like, no. Number one, I was doing it for free out of the love of in my heart that I have for my mother. I want her out in the street. I want her looking good in the streets. So of course I'm going to do things. I'm going to bring the noise, and I'm going to give it to her at mom discount.
Yeah.
But then I had to sit her ass down and be like, hey, I'm a professional. I don't do competitions.
Yeah.
If you want, I'll sit with this person, because this person was a relatively new graduate from whatever design school, blah, 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 blah. I was like, if you guys want, I'll do my I don't know, my Jesus thing, and like help teach this person how to do this. But like, you're putting me against a new... It's not even fair to that person.
Right.
I've been designing and doing things for well over 20 years.
Right.
This person just graduated. You might crush them. Because if you're going to put me in a competition, I don't like losing, and I'm going to try to crush them. So I try to do the right thing. Like, okay, so let's work this out. How can we get it to where everybody wins?
Right.
But putting me up, nah, come on, dude.
And that
Long
is
story
weird.
short,
And
I
again,
won. My
the-
logos, they're using my logos. I mean, sometimes you got to put your foot down.
but go about the tattoo thing. It happens in tattooing.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like we'll get emails from people. I think I'm about to tattoo this person. I've sketched up a design for them, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, well, blah blah." The other studio's kind of doing one for me too, so I'm just gonna see what his looks like, and I'll just reply, "Just go with that one. Just go with his."
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
You're gonna get me to work a little bit longer, and then we're gonna like. You've been watching too many TV shows, but your mom though, she just doesn't know, right?
Well, she does now. She does now. I'm not. Jack knows my mom. Like my mom, you gotta. She's tough. My mom's tough. She's tough. You gotta sit her down and be like, look, don't be putting me out here like this. Don't turn me into somebody that I don't want to be.
Wow, that's amazing.
Ah.
To go back to illustrating a little bit, I was wondering if you guys have used this stuff, but I've been trying to switch up some of the stuff I've been using recently. I was using a Wacom 13-inch HD. If I was just too small, the Cintiq, I found it was too small for me.
Mhm.
Felt a little cramped on it. It's pretty small. Kind of nice because it's a little bit portable, but not really because you still need a lot of your keyboard shortcuts, right?
Sure.
Anyway, so I did some research and I was looking at the 24-inch or whatever it is, the Wacom Cintiq.
Mm-hmm.
It's like $3,000 by the time you get it to Canada. I was like,
Yeah,
well, fuck that.
Yeah.
So I found a company called Huion, and
Oh, yeah.
I've had no problems with this tablet at all.
Yeah.
It does a little bit of a disconnect thing sometimes. You just gotta fuck with the driver. But like, I was just wondering if you guys have ever heard of that company. And I got
Yeah.
a 22-inch screen, and it was $900 shipped.
Wow.
And I thought
$900
that's like,
total. Wow, that's pretty good.
I think that's something that like listeners would be interested in. It's like, yeah, is it a Cintiq? No, it's not. Let's face it. But is it good enough for $900? Yeah. And I'm
Right.
doing all of my
Right.
current digital illustrations with it with no problem. And then the other thing that I found interesting was I was talking to a gentleman that has a gentleman. What am I like fucking? I was talking to a gentleman.
I was talking to an old
Talking
chap.
to this fucking dude that works around the corner from me, and he has a graphic design studio. He's trying to get me turned on to Affinity software. So I
Oh.
downloaded it.
Yeah.
And it's really quite good.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I pay for the Adobe suite every month. It costs me like almost $100. It kind of sucks. But Affinity is like $150. You get basically Illustrator and their version of Photoshop. And so far, it's actually pretty good. But I haven't had a chance to like sit down and fully do an illustration with it yet. But they've been bugging me a little bit. They're like kind of like wanting me to do, an illustration with it and like post about it and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exposure.
Yeah.
Exposure.
But I've already bought the program. I don't care. I mean, I think that sort of stuff's just like helping people out and
No,
helping
of
it get out.
course.
Yeah.
And again, for like people that are listening, because there's going to be people that are listening to this that are probably of all different pay grades and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And they just got to know that like I'm doing like some nice digital illustrations, and I'm not always having to use the most expensive programs that are out there or the most expensive tablet. That's
Right.
not
Yeah.
the play. You know what I mean? I mean,
Carlos,
like you can.
Carlos shared, and we'll actually drop it in the show notes. Carlos shared a video from the guys at Creature Box. I'm sure some of our fans know, but they're really, really well-known character designers, and those guys were using Sketchbook, which is free. I mean,
Right.
it's literally a free program, and he killed this
And it's
character.
amazing.
It's so good. So, I mean, there are options out there. I currently am in the process of trying to learn Blender, which is a free 3D software. It
Right.
definitely rivals Maya. It's not like a half-assed, garbage system. So, yeah, the options are out there. There's kind of no excuse anymore. So,
Right.
And what I'm hoping is the more options that happen, the more it makes Adobe either lessen their prices or come out with something bigger, better. I don't know. Like they've got to feel the pressure at some point. And also, like, think about what we're going through right now with this whole coronavirus thing. Do I really need that extra $100 on my credit card a month right now when I've paid
Right.
$150 and I've got 2 programs that I don't? They'll free update them for life.
Yeah.
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 It's crazy.
Or until further notice. Yeah. I mean, things like Procreate. I paid what, $10 for Procreate?
It's
How
like
many years ago?
$12.99 or something like that.
How many years ago?
Right.
And
a
it's
while
comparable. And I love Photoshop. Don't get me wrong, but for illustration, Procreate is legit. Sketchbook, legit. Not to mention, Sketchbook on your computer, whether you're Windows or Mac, doesn't even matter. They have this thing called Flipbook. So if you're into 2D animation, a free program that probably has the best animation routine or process, the best animation process on 2D animation process that I've bumped into. I haven't used TV Paint or stuff like that, but Sketchbook Pro, man, like,
I gotta check that out. That sounds fun.
oh, it's amazing.
It's really
Their
fun.
pencil brush is amazing.
Right.
When you get into like their watercolor, you don't have like all the fancy watercolor stuff that like what is it called? Adobe Fresco does.
Right, Fresco.
But that's
yeah.
that's cute for like 5 minutes. After that six
And
after that
also
6
on,
minute,
like,
you're like, do I need to pay $50 a month for this thing?
and like a lot of that stuff is like kind of like bloatware as well, right? Like on a like a 600 DPI illustration file, you want to start messing around with Fresco, good luck. It's gonna like crash your MacBook. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's just way too much. Because I don't know what's wrong with me, but I can't seem to be comfortable drawing anything under 600 DPI, even if it's
Holy
the
hell.
size it's gonna print at. I draw everything so like. I think it's because I'm a painter.
Yeah.
Initially, right? So I need it. Like, I can't handle seeing pixels. It really messes with me.
So
Interesting.
Elizabeth said, my animation teacher uses Autodesk Flipbook now, so that's all the students can use the same program.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I was using Sketchbook when, like, I don't remember who had it first, but I was using it back then when it first came out, and it was legit back then. And through the years, they just continued to build on it and make it better, to the point where I think they had a free level, and then they had like almost like the enterprise level of Sketchbook where you got a bunch of extra stuff. I even bought that. Like, I had to go through a reseller, and it was a whole thing. Almost a year into that, then they decided to make it all free. So
They got you.
How long have you guys been working on computers? You've been working on computers since the 80s? I can't really tell because I can't tell how old you guys are, and I don't want to like embarrass anybody if they're like 20 years. But because I was gonna say, like, I used to have I'm not sure if you remember this, was a computer called the Amiga. It was a Commodore product.
Commodore 64 was my first computer.
There you go. So on the Commodore 64 and the Amiga, they had my first animation project. Program I ever messed with was like a Disney Animate Studio, I think it was called, and it was just
That's cool.
so insane to think that I was trying to animate on something that you had to draw with the cursor and like the direction buttons on the keyboard essentially. Or if you were lucky enough, your mom sprung and bought you that big old mouse with the one button. So like they'd have like little like I guess like the onion skins of like Donald Duck walking. And they'd be
Yeah.
like, just trace over it. And you'd be like, okay, gurk, gurk, gurk. You would have. I would love to see if anybody could go back and like actually.
There's gotta be
to animate with that. Just
there's
use
gotta
the
be
rudimentary controls that you would have had back then. You know what I mean?
because I've seen some folks do some crazy stuff with like Microsoft Paint, and like they go back and find these really old things.
Yeah.
There's got to be one for that.
I try to do 2D animation every now and then. Any animation I've done, I've always done it in cahoots with my friend that, like I was saying earlier, he now works at Warner Brothers. His name on Instagram was Schlong Lord for the longest time.
Oh, we know Schlong Lord.
He's been on the show.
He's the greatest.
He hasn't been on the show, but we met him.
Yeah.
Has he been on the show?
No, he hasn't.
He's a great dude. But so normally when I do animation for music videos, I do it with him. So I normally actually just send him a bunch of vectors that are like separated, and he kind of puts it all together and makes it move. But since he started doing that, I've been going on to Photoshop and trying to do like the timeline animation, which is essentially just 2D animation, and making GIFs. So I've got like a bunch of GIFs on Instagram right now. If you go to the stickers and stories section, there's a bunch of LURK Loves You GIFs on there. And
is that tricky to do? I've been wanting to research how to do that. I just haven't.
Oh, I can tell you how to do it. It's super easy.
Cool.
I've actually got an email for like that goes like direct to head office, so you don't have to like mess around with all the the paupers. Just get straight in. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'll hook you up.
Awesome.
But yeah, but what it reminds me of is every time is like how little I know about animation, and how hard it actually is, and how much I respect like guys like yourselves that are out there doing like animation stuff. Because I'll think say I'm trying to do a walk cycle. I think I'm doing it right. And I'll like draw all the sketch lines in for where I think the knee will swing to, but it ends up just looking so stiff. And then like you kind of realize like something about those really cool old like Warner Brothers or Disney animations. They didn't just walk; they had a bit of a spring to their step, or they had a bit of a slouch to their step and stuff like that. And you're like, man, crazy.
Well,
those are crazy people. How do they figure that out?
Yeah. And one of the cool things is those old dudes that used to do that for a living, that as an exercise, they would propose a challenge to each other and say, okay, do a walk cycle from here to here, this many frames, whoever is the funniest wins. And they would make funny walk cycles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it blows my mind. And to you guys, it's like you're probably not that blown away by it. You know what I mean?
Oh no.
No, I still am.
Yeah. Completely.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
it's not just
completely.
me then.
No.
It's not. It's a different way. I've discovered that it's very much a different way of thinking. I still feel if I start on paper first, it comes out a bit better. Yeah. Like if I try to do with tracing paper and just do layer like the onion skin layer kind of thing, I feel like it comes out a bit better, and then go into the screen and kind of draw it on the screen afterwards. Yeah. But there'll always be this one frame that's so out that I don't know how to fix, and it'll look like it's about to move smoothly. Then all of a sudden it looks like he's kicked himself in the face somehow. I don't know how it's happened, kind of thing. It's like it's so weird.
I think you're
so touchy.
I think you're gonna dig Sketchbook, and then you.
Check out Sketchbook. I mean, it's free. What do you got to lose? But it stays out of your way. That's kind of what's really nice. Is it's just the timeline is very simple, and it's lacking a bunch of bells and whistles that the fancy stuff is, but if you're a fan of like traditional drawing and all you want to do is just draw and animate, it's really good for that.
Yeah. And the neat thing is, I mean, obviously it's software, so if you do a drawing that is kind of out of place, you just grab that frame and just move it to the side.
Or easy for you to say.
Or add it. I mean,
or like move it and
you're doing
touch your computer, walk away.
It's just as simple as Just as simple as if you take a piece of paper, like you're saying, you're drawing everything on a piece of paper. To me, drawing everything on a piece of paper is harder than drawing it on the computer. Because you're doing the whole flippy thing, and you're like, nah. Get sketchbook, turn on onion skinning, and call it a day.
Fair enough. So a weird thing that happens with 2D animation is I'll look at one of my paintings and I'll give myself this challenge. I'll be like, I want to animate this full painting, and then I'll just realize how insane that actually is. So I'm going to grab a painting for you guys. 1 second.
Now watch. He's going to have this big ass painting, and he's like, yeah, I want to animate this. But if you look at his artwork on Instagram, you're like, nobody wants to animate this.
Nobody wants to animate that, right?
See?
It'd be cool, though.
Oh, hell yeah. It'd be dope as hell.
It's like, what are you envisioning as the animation, though? That's the question.
I just wanted to fart.
I just wanted to fart.
We can make that happen.
We could drop that in After Effects. We could do that in like 45 seconds. It's going to be like this.
But you know what I mean? I get excited because I look at that and then I'm like, oh, I could animate that thing moving, and then I'm like, no, I can't. That's insane. I'm assuming it'd probably be easier to make that as a 3D model and animate it. I would assume, right? Because then you can move the wires and stuff like that, right?
If you want it to be as detailed as that painting, yeah. But I mean, it just, again, it depends on the scope. If you could chop that thing up into little puppet layers and make it kind of move very simply, but fairly simply, and that would retain all the detail. So again, it's just kind of the scope. Like, what do you actually want this thing to do? Is it like running through the field? Then you gotta you gotta 3D model that. But if
you gotta go get funding.
You just gotta get that 150 grand video. But you could probably do some really cool simple moving painting stuff, just kind of chopping it up into layers and
you know what might actually be, well, you know your way around Photoshop. You can bring that into Photoshop, separate everything into different layers, and then bring that into Character Animator. Character Animator actually uses your web camera, so when you do like this, the head of your character does like this, and then you can
try to mess with that.
Arms. Yeah,
I couldn't figure it out.
Now I know. Hang on.
Disney
Character
Animator
Studio
from 1989.
Well, you can import your paintings into Disney Studio.
Could you
and they'll say, trace this crazy painting. Clunk.
So when I first studied graphic design, it was like 1994. We had a Power Mac, and if we ever had to like scan a photograph in, we literally would go for lunch and come back because it would start scanning in just like one line at a time.
And you remember?
And you're just like, okay, I guess I'm gonna come back later.
I need help.
I had one back. I don't even remember the year, but it was like a handheld scanner,
That's
and that was
the
the most janky because you would like mess it up all the time. You just
Why was that even a thing?
I don't know whoever thought that was a good idea.
Yeah.
How was that ever a good invention? You'd have to like build a jig for it just to like keep it straight.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I was looking through my junk drawer. Hang on. I was looking through my junk drawer and I found this guy.
Joke there. Oh, wow.
And if you want to talk about so the idea was great, and I was about excited about this I was
all on board for that.
Man,
I remember.
And when I got it, it was cool, but so the way that it works, if you're watching, this is a receiver, right?
Right.
Like almost like a radio receiver, and then there's a transmitter built in the pen, and then whatever you drew, this would pick up all the strokes and then rebuild everything until you put your hand in the way. So hang on. So
That
right when
seems
you
like a
did,
minor limitation.
right when
Why
you
would
did
do
like
that?
this,
Yeah, why are you blocking the?
Why are you putting your hand in there? Is
I
that how
don't
you
know.
draw?
Like
You
sometimes
cover
you're
it?
This
concentrating. I
isn't
don't know.
basketball.
I
This
don't know.
isn't third grade and you're afraid of somebody seeing your drawing. You're like,
You can't see what you're drawing.
Have you
anymore.
seen
cover
my-
it behind.
Have you seen my
That
drawings?
crazy kid's drawing invisible things again. Wow.
Yeah, but no,
we've
that
come a long
one,
way.
half the drawing would be looking really good, and the other half would be like over there.
Right, and it was probably coming in at like a pretty low DPI. You probably couldn't like actually extract it, right? You probably couldn't live trace it or anything like
It depends. It depends on how you brought it in. You can either bring it in as an Illustrator file or a Photoshop file.
That's not bad then.
Yeah.
Just
No.
looked like crap.
No, like it was cool. But then right when they did that, hang on.
How many toys have you got in this drawer?
So
lot.
many.
Right when Wacom came out with that, Adobe came out with this.
What is that one?
The ink and slide.
Oh, yeah.
That looks like it goes in your butt.
You
You might want to put that away, dude. I don't know. You're gonna get cancer, man. I just want to file a formal complaint that this guy's coming on to me.
Yeah, so the Wacom Inkling
Right.
didn't last long. And
No.
the frustrating thing is I went to go find the driver because I wanted to use it. I was like, well, I have it. All those little, the inserts for the pen still have ink in it. But there's no driver support. So, no, I have to, that goes into the
Wow.
museum.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? Like, I had an eMac, and at some point in time, I can't remember what the message on it actually said, but it was just like, you just can't use this computer anymore. I think it couldn't even, like, you couldn't even update it, like, on the internet. Like, it couldn't use browsers
Yeah.
eventually. But I have an iMac at the tattoo studio that's 10 years old right now, which is insane for a computer these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's dying. Like, it's like you move the mouse and it starts spinning.
But it's
Oh,
trying.
It's pretty much done, but I just kind of want to see how long it'll hold up. 'Cause I feel like that was like the last sort of 10 years ago, in my opinion, was the last golden era for Mac. I think now they're just garbage disposable computers, just like every other computer.
Yeah,
I
they
feel
get
like
there.
10 years ago, they was, well, you know what? Steve Jobs is still alive. I feel like they were just quality, you know?
Yeah.
Which one was it? The big, like, steel cheese grater?
Yeah, the big, yeah.
Yeah.
Just really, just
Yeah,
a
those were good.
powerhouse.
Those were good machines, yeah.
And
Yeah,
now,
those
you know,
are
I've had my MacBook Pro. I've had it. It's a 2018, I think, and it's the one that you can't change the memory in, which is really nice of them. Yeah, really helpful when your
Yeah.
computer's broken down. And it's garbage, honestly.
Well,
And the one before I had that was garbage too. You know?
My computer that I'm on now is they nicknamed it the trash can.
they
Perfect.
sure did. They sure did.
What is it?
It's the
trash can.
Yeah, the 2013 one that looks like
That,
a
like,
little.
The little black.
That thing, right?
Yeah. And
It's
if
like
you
a,
look
it's
at
like
it
a
from the
Power Mac,
front,
right? Like a
if you look at it from the front, it's pretty sexy. But then you turn it to the side, and it's got like, it's like a bowl of spaghetti exploded.
oh wow.
Yeah, they didn't figure out how to hide all those wires in that clean design.
Yeah.
They've been making some odd choices, but that's okay. Not my problem, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you guys see
And, like-
that they announced they released the new iPads yesterday?
I know. I almost bought one, and then I was like, I don't think this is the time to be dropping $1,800 on one. Maybe $1,800 on food would be a good idea right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they do look nice though.
Yeah. Jack, did you check them out?
I just saw like some brief links, but I haven't really gone in depth. I have no clue what's new or like, you know, what the deal is.
Yeah, for me, they're cool. There's this new, well, I have this one that I got last year sometime. and it you know they didn't make that big a change for me. They said they added a new wide angle and super wide angle lens to it and up the processor a little bit, but I'm fine.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I'm not going to buy that because I want a camera on it. I probably would never use the camera on it.
Yeah, the camera on the iPad has always been weird to me.
Yeah, get rid of it.
But I see guys out there with their giant.
I mean, I guess like if you're sketching and like you're doing something for say like some sort of game development and you want a particular look of a building or something like that, you take a photograph and then you sketch it and then you make it your own. I could maybe see that.
Here you go. This is because it fits right into everything that we've been talking about.
Awesome, love it.
You get your iPad.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get this delightful little 2D drawing application called Rough Animator, or even Flip a Clip. Both of those, you record something, and then you import that into those two programs, and then you draw 2D on top of the video.
Oh yeah, like rotoscope it basically.
Or I mean, I have a couple animations that I've done where I had some little creature. I was in Boston waiting for them to finish fixing my phone, and I just recorded part of like the iPad that they had on display, and then I drew on top of that a little character that was eating popcorn, watching cartoon karaoke.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not completely lost, or even like if you're drawing something on a piece of paper and you want to finish it in Procreate, whatever, you can take a picture. You don't have to sit there with your scanner doing like this.
Right. Kids will never know. These kids will never know the troubles that we went through scanning things in by hand.
I'm telling you. Like when I was going to school, I literally went to a class that was a semester-long scanning class.
I missed that one.
Yeah, scanning class.
Did you pass?
Yeah.
You know how to scan now?
There was a
I'm
time
a pro scanner.
Not before scanners, because obviously those came first, but where scanners are either too difficult to get to or the drivers are busted or whatever, where I would do the reverse. You know how you used to put a piece of paper on the window and trace?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, love it.
Or I'd even like put the paper on the monitor to trace.
Oh yeah.
I would do the reverse, where I'd have a drawing of a piece of paper and put it on the monitor and then sketch on the computer to get it onto the computer.
Wow.
Yeah, well,
you might have invented the Cintiq that day.
Exactly.
The guy from Wacom was just like looking over your shoulder, being like, "This kid's got a good idea."
Yeah,
this could be a lot better.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, the things that we've seen.
Hey.
Yeah, seen
creativity. It's all creativity.
And that's,
onward and upward.
That's awesome. I mean, like, yeah. I'm excited to see what's next. You know what I mean? What I can create next. That's kind of always my thing, right?
Oh, that's one of the other things that they put in the new iPads. LiDAR. So basically, it'll as you're holding as you're holding up the iPad, it's using a kind of radar to figure out what the room looks like, and in live in live time, what's it called?
Real time.
In real time, thank you. In real time, you're able to like drop pillows and furniture and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Wow, this is insane.
Yeah, that's what.
And it's like it's all happening so fast.
So fast.
I have a friend right now, and he designs all of his toys in like a 3D world, in like with the Oculus on.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, so he'll just design a toy and then get it 3D printed. He showed me a video of it. It looks kind of weird, actually. When you watch the video and you're not in the environment, it literally looks like you're having like a schizophrenic episode.
Yeah.
But he said when you're actually wearing the goggles, though, it kind of makes more sense, kind of thing. Because I was like,
Sure.
dude, this looks bad. Like a bad trip,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's too funny. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for bed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
sounds
already in
good.
bed. And then I got back out of bed to come and do this because apparently I don't know about different time zones.
It's nice to see you changed out of your pajamas. Unless those are your
man,
pajamas.
This is my clobber. This is my clobber, as we'd say in England. This is my clobber, man.
Your clobber? What's that mean?
Yeah. It's good clothes.
Oh.
It's your good clothes.
Shout out to England.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Well, yeah, it was definitely awesome talking to you again. Let's do it in another year.
Let's not. Let's do it way sooner. Like in all
Yeah.
seriousness, let's do it way sooner. This
Yeah, sure,
time,
man.
like we've been going for almost 2 hours, and it feels like 10 minutes.
Oh, dude, I can talk.
Yeah.
You might have noticed.
No, it's all good though. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Hey Russell, if people are trying to find you online and check out your nifty work and animations, where can they find you?
Well, they can go to my Instagram. It's at LURK Loves You. It's LURK Loves You. LURK Loves You. That's on the Instagram. Twitter, but I mean, I'm getting no traction on Twitter. Never have. So there's LURK Loves You on Twitter, but it's just not happening over there.
No.
I'm on LinkedIn as well, just in case you're going to think that you might get a job one day using LinkedIn. You could go on there and try and find me, but good luck. And my website is LURK Army. And then I guess I have my Threadless account as well.
Dun,
Threadless recently
dun,
contacted me. They wanted to give me a VIP store, which is really nice of them.
Yeah, buddy.
And I think it's just LURK on Threadless, like lurk/threadless.com or something like that.
Cool.
But you can find everything through my Instagram and LURK Army.
Nice.
Yeah. Do I say lurk weird? Because like lots of times people are like lurk, and I'm like, no, lurk. Like it's because it's my accent, right?
No,
Yeah.
it's
Sounds right.
made sense to me.
Oh, that's okay. I have there's a Japanese restaurant next to my tattoo studio. Lovely guy that runs it. We actually used to go swimming together, and I've never corrected him because his English is getting better. But he was asking me about my paintings once, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I just call it like Lurk." So now he thinks my name is Luke. So he calls me Luke all the time, and I've never corrected him because I don't have the heart to. So like he'd be like, "Hi, Luke," and I'll be like, "Hey, dude, what's up?" It's just, it's all good. I'm not sure if he's like actually trying to say lurk or not, but like I'm just like whatever. I'm just gonna go with it. It's actually really weird when people call me lurk to my face because I'm like, it's just a brand. I'm not actually,
Yeah.
not like,
I can see that.
yeah, it's a bit off.
It's a little better than
Anyway.
me. Like when people, especially brown kids, when they hear coconut justice, they're like, "Oh, because you're brown on the outside, white on the end." I'm like, "No, you're racist."
Damn.
I like it.
Hey Jack, if people are looking for you, where can they find you?
Mainly on Instagram, Sketchbook Jack and sketchbookjack.com.
I'm gonna look that up right now. Sketchbook Jack.
Be prepared to
I don't know why I said it like
love
that, by the
Lurk
way.
I
loves
will-
you.
I won't correct you. You got my name right now. I'm just kidding.
Sketchbook Joaquin. And hey, Coconut Justice has zero to do with my nationality. CoconutJustice.com, Coconut Justice everywhere else. And this is Sketch Zone, episode 197.
Wow.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Characters are dope, man.
And so Sketch Zone. That means if you go to sketch.zone, you're going to see literally everything else we've done. And if you can watch us live, please do so. We love interacting with you guys. Shout out to, I'm trying to remember her Instagram name. Ellie Art. Ellie Art on Instagram. Go watch her progress as a wonderful artist. She sent a
Awesome.
message earlier. My family recommended I enter a competition to design a shoe for Vans, and I read the fine print. It was awful, and they received thousands of free designs from people who didn't read the legal stuff. Read legal stuff.
Yeah. It's hard when you're in a different country. On the last note of legal stuff, if you're out there and you want to rip me off, it's really easy if you're from the States, because I've got no legal jurisdiction.
Yeah,
I'd have to pay an American lawyer to take care of my Canadian problem.
Yeah, I've been there. It's not fun.
It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't rip me off, though.
Sketch.zone, and you can see everything that we have. And we have links to Ellie Jaybird Art. Thank you. ELLIEJAYBIRDART. Thank you for that, Elizabeth. Ellie Jaybird Art. Watch. Go check her out. She's a very talented, up-and-coming, award-winning 2D animator.
Oh.
That's right.
Awesome.
Maybe she can teach Russ a little something. But yeah, go to sketch.zone and you'll have all the social media links. We're on Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And if you can watch us live, obviously, do so. We're here on YouTube. We try to be here every week. And if you can't, we're on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, iTunes, and Spotify. No, it's not, Elizabeth, it's not that it's a weird name. It makes a lot of sense. It's just my brain is old and dry.
He's got CT.
Old and dry.
All right, guys, that's it for us. Thank you so much for checking this out. Oh, and if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Yeah, that's it. Have a good week.
Thank you so much.
We're wishing you nothing but health, and hopefully this thing will be over sooner rather than later. And
good vibes out there to all the nurses and all the people working on the front line that are actually doing the real work out there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about like the fires and just, oh my goodness, just anyway, let's go.
Okay, peace. Nice meeting you, Jeff.
Have a good week, everyone.
You too. Thanks for coming on.